I'm a 17-year-old girl, and this happened to me when I was 15. So I was walking one day after hanging out with my boyfriend at the mall. My parents were always working, so I had to walk home alone. When I got off the bus, this man wearing a blue hoodie had gotten off with me. When I was getting closer to the street I lived in, I noticed this man was still following me and getting closer. I heard a whistle as I entered the trailer homes. I didn't want to look back because I was practically in fear. But for some reason I did, and when I looked, the man was sprinting towards me. My aunt's house was nearby, so I decided to go there. Luckily, my aunt was awake and opened the door the second I was pounding on it. The man in the hoodie yelled "bye" and ran back the direction we came from. I'm glad my aunt opened the door fast enough before the man could even get to me. Who knows what kind of intentions he had. I was walking home from work one night at around 3 in the morning down a dark road. This dark road was about 2 miles with a few streetlights and no cars passing by at this hour. The only buildings around the dirt road were a storage, a few warehouses that are already closed at this time. There is also a wooden barricade that separates the dirt road and the wash. The wash is a deserted area that used to have water flowing through it before California was in a drought. About 30 minutes into my walk, I see a man with tattoos all over his body riding his bike towards me. I was wearing all black, so the man couldn't see me. When he got close enough to see me, I heard his brakes shriek because he almost crashed into me on his bike. This got him really upset, and he started cussing me out in Spanish. I can tell this guy was on something by the way he was talking and stumbling over his words. I just ignored him, but he still kept insulting me. I was furious now because he wouldn't stop cussing at me, so I cussed him back out. He right away got off his bike and pulled out a gun from his backpack as I was walking up to him ready to punch him. I had never ran so fast in my life before. Then I heard a shot go off from behind. I dropped my work hat and soda I had on me. I then cut through the wash so I can get home faster. I stopped running by the time I got to my street because I knew this guy wouldn't chase me through the wash without his bike and backpack. When I got home, I was still in shock and was lucky I didn't get shot. I still remember the sound of that gunshot to this day. Since then, I stopped working graveyard shifts and carry a weapon with me at all times.
So when I was a junior in high school, I started to dress banged out because of the people I hanged out with and my family members who were also part of gangs. I always carried a switchblade in my back pocket because I would usually walk home alone at night. You never know what you could encounter. I was visiting my girlfriend at around 6 p.m. I would usually take the bus because I didn't want to borrow my parents for a ride since they were always working. To get to my girlfriend's house, I had to take 2 buses, which meant waiting at the transit for 45 minutes before I could take the next bus. When I noticed there was a group of guys around my age sitting across from where I was sitting. One of them in a black hoodie raised his hands up, throwing up a sign that I couldn't make out. I laughed and shook my head no. When the bus arrived, I got on and sat in the back. The bus driver had walked off for a bit. I had my headphones on, and when I looked up, the group of guys were walking on the same bus I was on, again, staring at me. This time a different guy in a B hat said something, but I couldn't hear what he said. So I just ignored it. When I was getting to my stop, I pulled the string to let the bus driver know I was getting off. As I do this, one of the guys looked at me as I stood up and walked to the exit. I got off the bus earlier than I normally do because I didn't want the group to know where I was heading. I soon realized that this was a big mistake. I walked at least 10 minutes and realized that they were still following me. When I look ahead, I also realized that the stop I usually get off at were 2 other guys sitting. Since I was wearing my headphones, I decided to walk past them and not make any eye contact. I could have jaywalked, but I didn't either. When I got far away enough, I decided to walk through the neighborhood park. It was around 7ish, so there was practically no one there, because it would start to get dark around this time. When I was halfway through the park, I heard a whistle. I quickly turned around and see the same group of guys running towards me. My initial thought was, they're gonna jump me. I ran through the park and dropped my phone under a picnic table. Before I knew it, they had me surrounded. The only thing left to do now was to defend myself. I pulled out my switchblade, and as soon as they rushed me, I dropped it. I soon fell to the ground within seconds. The last thing I remember was being kicked in the head. When I had woken up, my headphones were missing, so was my wallet, and even my switchblade. I then rushed to the picnic table where I had dropped my phone. Luckily, it was still there. I could feel every bruise on my body. I was bleeding from my mouth. I had a bunch of cuts on my face. I called one of my cousins to let him know what had happened. He told me to go to my girlfriend's house, and he would pick me up after. I'll never forget that day.